Talk fast, Sheila.
Let me thank the distinguished gentleman from California for his leadership. If I might inquire of the chair again, if the speaker, you said the time was how much time? I'm sorry.
54 total minutes.
54 total minutes out of 60 minutes. Is that what you're saying?
Rather than 60 minutes,
right.
54 total minutes.
Thank you so very much. I wanted to make sure it wasn't 5 minutes. Let me thank the gentleman again from California. I want to thank him overall for a litany of causes and legislative efforts that I've joined him on, Make It in America and a number of others. And I'm so glad that he has come to the floor today to be able to recount for the American people just what we've gone through. And I want to start where he started, because I've heard a number of my colleagues who are here on the floor, Congressman Honda, Congresswoman Capter, speak eloquently about their work on the Appropriations Committee and the wall that they had, the mountain that they had to climb with a compromise that many Democrats voted for and the President signed, and that was the sequestration, which was created to avoid a shutdown some years ago. And the numbers were so odious that it was thought that we would bring the Republicans to the table in a consensus group, but I hope the American people would recognize that they would be surprised to find out that those odious numbers were not even enough. It didn't bring them to the table. In fact, what it did is cause them to hunker down, to want more cuts, more damage to the American people, where we find ourselves today without the budget cuts, the shutdown that we're in now, that the sequestration, which is what Democrats were trying to work toward to avoid this deepening impact, the sequestration itself, without the government shutdown, was going to lose 1 million jobs. But we could not seemingly bridge that gap of understanding with House Republicans, and particularly the right-wing components who, over the weekend, by the way, one Minnesota member of Congress, former presidential candidate, indicated that she was smiling. They got just what they wanted. So I'm glad to be able to just, for a moment, if the gentleman would continue to yield, let me just say these points. So that was a moment of compromise. That was a moment of holding one's nose, because we were doing it for the good of the whole. It was the good of the greater good of the whole. But we come now to another moment of crisis where the answer, someone asked me what was the plan, where the answer is right before us, and that is a clean CR. Let me explain. It is not a clean CR to take us into 2014 and 2015. My friends, it is only to November 15th, so we can have cooler heads and we can reconcile with the Senate Majority Leader Reid, who has offered this compromise, this peace offering. The President sit down even before Thanksgiving and get a budget for all of the running of the government and an appropriations process to allow that to happen. Now, let me quickly go to the 3 bills that we had and just say these things. National parks, I want to say directly to the Bel Air teacher, and her name is Ann Kennedy Lindsley. We're going to work as hard as we can to get those parks open, and I will tell you the answer. The answer is for the Republican House to vote on a clean CR, and you'll be able to go to the park with Bel Air students. But I'm going to be calling you tonight, Ms. Kennedy Lindsley, to let you know how hard Democrats are working and encourage our Republicans to just vote on that clean CR, and your youngsters will be able to be headed to Yellowstone on October 4th. The other point is, I want to tell Patrick Smith, a disabled veteran who called my office, thank you for your service. The reason why I voted down and joined my colleagues against this piecemeal veterans bill, Patrick, is because the numbers were so insulting to your willingness to leave the ultimate on the battlefield. It was $6 billion less. It wasn't going to help reduce the claims or get your benefits. Those benefits are going to be running now for a couple of weeks, but I tell you, Patrick, on the floor of the House, I promise you that we will not have this ridiculous treatment of our veterans, but we're going to do something that is meaningful, not what was done on the floor of the House today. Finally, let me say to my colleague, Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton, again using the plight of the people of the District of Columbia that you are deserving of the respect of using your own $8 billion, and the Republicans know full well that all they have to do is to vote for a clean CR to be able to ensure that this independent area, the capital of the United States, whose member does not have a vote, is able to do this. Congressman, today was October 1st. Again, I want to wish my brother Michael Jackson a birthday wish, and I hope you've had a great day, but you had a historic day. October 1st is Get Covered. And that means that all the noise about Obamacare, about a bill, it is a law. And I want to announce on the floor today that we're told that millions of people have gotten on this website. Hear my words, healthcare.gov, healthcare.gov. 2 million or so in New York, California, all throughout the nation. And when I went to my office in the early morning hours of last evening, or what was yesterday, 1 or 2 in the morning, we turned on healthcare.gov, and I want you to know that the system said it was overwhelmed, not because of inadequacy, but because people were pressing to be able to have good health care. They needed it. People with issues and pre-existing conditions, and people who are suffering from sickle cell, and people who have diabetes and others, they were saying, thank God. One who had spina bifida, one woman who was 18 years old, and her family was told, you're off of the insurance. And God knows she's going to be able to be covered. So I want to thank you for doing that. I am closing on a number, 3,000. These are 3,000 children in Houston who are on the waiting list for Head Start because of sequester and the government shutdown. I end on that note because we've talked about the disabled, we talked about the District of Columbia going to a park, but who cares about the children? 3,000, how many are across the nation who can't get Head Start, can't get food stamps because this body decided to vote $40 billion out. So I look forward to continuing this discussion, but more importantly, I want to thank you for recognizing that the way to the Golden Arch is through decency and compromise and sensible reconciliation. Vote on a clean CR, and we will get to the next step, which is to work to make sure this government stays open and that the American people are our first priority. I thank the gentleman for yielding.
Ms. Sheila Jackson-Lee, thank you so very much. There's no doubt that this House has the ability at any moment to vote on the continuing resolution that the Senate has sent back here. If that were to happen, the President would immediately have that law on his desk. He could sign it, and government would at that moment reopen. And keep in mind that that CR is not one that we thought was the best. It actually is significantly below the level of funding that the Democrats wanted, and it does continue, at least for another month and a half, the sequestration, which we do not like.